Verdon-Roe is incredibly important in the development of British aviation because he was the first Englishman to design, build and fly his own all-British aeroplane. He was a man who was dedicated enough to go and live in a shed and live off tinned fish in order to build and realise his dream.
He probably had the honour, whether it's the honour is the right word, to be the early aviator who probably crashed the most. He was always testing this aircraft, crashing it, learning a little bit, and then going back, remodelling it, coming back and having another go, and probably crashing again. But by July in 1909, he was really beginning to make regular flights, 100, 150 feet, and eventually 900 feet. And at that stage, he had to stop because otherwise he would have ended up in the River Lee. I'm in awe of his bravery. I wouldn't go up in this.
When the triplane was made 100 years ago, Verdon-Roe used his own engineering skills and judgments to do what he did. And apart from crashing his aeroplane once or twice while he was actually learning to fly it, he didn't really do himself much harm. And he could always repair it and perhaps change things to suit his latest ideas. Whereas we have to meet some of the modern airworthiness regulations, although for such a limited sort of capability, they're not too onerous, but largely they result in additional weight. Provided that we have, where we've got 20% more power available to us than 100 years ago, provided that we aren't 20% heavier, we should be able to see daylight under the wheels. But I should emphasize that for us, success will be getting off the ground, say to a height of 10 feet and flying for a couple of 100 yards.
The sound was just wonderful, that beautiful thrumming sound of that old engine. I didn't get a feeling of enormous power from the engine, but it's just extraordinary to be looking through this sort of letterbox of a vision that you have. I could do with being just that little bit taller because there was just a big wing right in my field of vision. I couldn't see the end of the runway. But just this sort of impression of being incredibly out in the open, which I'm very used to and I like very much. I don't like cockpits. It's being very exposed, but at the same time having this huge amount of fuselage. You're just aware of this vast wing area.
Yes, it's heavier, and our last final stroke is to get a lightweight pilot to have a go.
Well, they've got nothing to compare it to. I mean, I've got thousands of hours of aviating to refer back to, but they would have been doing it from nothing, no experience whatsoever, nobody around to ask. It must have been just so difficult. I'm left with absolute admiration for the early guys that aviated. You know, Verdon-Roe, what an amazing man to have not only conceived and built this beautiful machine, but to have successfully flown it, to have crashed it again and again and got back up and stuck it back together and then gone again until he succeeded.